Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Hey there, it's Larry, and I'm thrilled to share something incredibly close to my heart. My latest book, Selling in a Post-Trust World, is now available. In today's landscape where trust is harder to come by than ever, I've poured my years of experience into these pages to guide you through connecting genuinely and building lasting relationships with your customers. This book is more than just strategies. It's about transforming the way you sell by being authentic, real, and trustworthy in every interaction. It's for those who believe that integrity and sales can go hand in hand, and for anyone looking to not just meet their quotas, but to truly make a difference in their customers' lives. If you're ready to elevate your sales game and navigate the complexities of selling in a world where skepticism is the norm, Selling in a Post-Trust World is your must-read guide. And here's the best part. Even though it won't hit the bookstores until this summer, you can get your hands on an advanced reader's copy right now. Just head over to sellinginapostrustworld.com or click the link in the show notes, and let's embark on this journey together towards more meaningful, trust-based selling.
Hello and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Another great day here at Selling from the Heart. You know, this movement around Selling from the Heart's global. Our guest today is global. Super excited. Great seeing you, Darrell.
Yeah, we got JC Larreche all the way from Paris, France, and talking about value capture selling. Just wait. This is going to be an amazing conversation. And Larry, so many great things are happening at Selling from the Heart right now. In addition to the new book, which you can get an advanced reader's copy of Selling in a Post-Trust World right now at sellinginapostrustworld.com. Links in the show notes. Our podcast, and this is a huge thank you to all of our listeners. We got voted a number 2 sales podcast. Larry, it was so cool to see just the way this movement of Selling from the Heart is spreading all over the world.
Yeah, no, we're super excited. Thank you to all of our listeners, because we were awarded the silver medalist from Top Sales Magazine for one of the best sales podcasts. We can't do this without our listeners. We pour into you guys what we know and our guests know to help elevate the sales profession. We just want to say thank you for believing in Selling from the Heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is so exciting because the message right now of building trust in what we believe is a post-trust world is so critical. And it's because of you liking, subscribing, leaving reviews, and voting for this podcast that we're able to spread this message. And it really, really is awesome what's going on right now. Speaking of awesome, today we're exploring sales transformation with JC Larreche. He's emeritus professor at INSEAD and author of Value Capture Selling: How to Win the Third Sales Transformation. With a distinguished career that spans academia and business, JC has influenced the strategies of leading global corporations. Value capture selling marks a pivotal shift in sales strategy, urging professionals to go beyond creating value to mastering the capture of corporate value. JC's expertise in driving company growth through marketing excellence and customer focus offers invaluable lessons for any sales professional looking to excel in today's competitive business environment. So join us for a deep dive into the principles of value capture. JC, welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast, all the way from Paris, France. It is great to have you here.
Thank you, Darrell and Larry. It's a great pleasure to be with you. And I see you're having a lot of fun, which is the most important thing in life.
There you go.
That's right. I agree 100%. And that might have something to do with your answer to the question that every guest on the Selling from the Heart podcast answers. And that is, JC, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
This is, of course, an easy question because you wrote a book about it.
It's like all the answers are there. It's a dream. There's a test and you have all the answers.
No, but, I love your book, Larry, because, that's what I've been trying to say for a long time, not in the sales field, but outside of the sales field, in my executive coaching. And I advise executives around the world. I mean, obviously, you have it in the subtitle of your book. It's authenticity. That is the essential thing. When you speak from the heart. I've advised many executives, CEOs and so on. And when we do transformations in companies, and I help them, and when they make speeches, I always tell them speak from the heart. But it's so difficult for some of them. So difficult. I mean, you can see the genuine, executive. I love your expression in your book, the empty suit. I love it. It's fantastic because I've seen a lot of them. A lot of them. They just want to look important, and they put, they are in theater all the time, except as they are bad actors. It shows that they are reading a script. It shows that they don't mean it. And of course, we have that in executives. We have that in politicians. Politicians should read your book, Larry.
There you go.
Many of them don't speak from the heart. It's just amazing.
No,
absolutely.
Well, what I can do is just, not repeat your book, but extend it to, outside of sales executives. But also go back to the notion of, what does the heart mean? It's the ancient Greeks, Aristotle, that basically put the source of emotions in the heart, which of course is totally wrong, because neurologists know that emotions or rationality all happen in the brain. But we've observed forever that when people have emotions, their heartbeat changes. And there are lots of emotions, fear, anger, happiness, and it has an impact on the heart. And that's why, people say it's the heart, which is, the location of emotions, which is not true scientifically, but it is true emotionally. And that's exactly what's important. Then when you talk from the heart, I think it's from the heart to the heart. It's from the heart of one person to the heart of another person. And that's a fantastic connection when it happens. And that's what we do with friends, right?
Yeah.
You have good friends, you sympathize with them and so on. It's heart from heart. What I find amazing is that in business, people cannot just do what they do with friends. Now, of course, there are a lot of exceptions. I've written cases about Richard Branson. Now, Richard Branson is now a little outdated compared to, new executives. But Richard Branson is somebody who stayed natural all the time.
Yeah.
Day and night, it was always the same person. He didn't complete high school, but he built an empire. He became a billionaire, being just a natural guy. And why do some people have to behave differently when they get a job? Because they're paid for it. And that's why your book is so essential. Your book is not only about selling, it's about the human being, right? How to remain an authentic human being. And it's absolutely fantastic. And that's what, selling from the heart is for me. It's not just being a salesperson, selling from the heart, but it's doing it every day, all the time.
Oh, hey, JC, that was so good. I'm going to take you out on the road with me. Hey, Darrell, can I take JC out on the road with you?
I'd be delighted.
That's right.
But I want to key on something that you just said, because I think it was really powerful. You said from one person's heart to the other person's heart. And in the middle of that, there's a lot of things that go awry. And you live in the executive leadership space and things like that. And what I want to see if you could just touch on real briefly, and by the way, I think we're just going to dive into an amazing conversation here, Darrell, is just looking at this through your lens, is if you were looking at this as a leadership person, is where do leaders have the struggle in bridging from their heart to somebody else's. Where do you see the difficulties lie, just from your level of expertise in this?
Well, the word is very simple. It's vulnerability.
Yeah.
People don't want to be vulnerable. They think they go to a jungle. And that's what I tell my executive students, you sometimes look like in the Middle Ages, the night before they went to battle, they were putting some steel in them. And that's what they do in the morning. Okay. And in the evening, they take it out. Why? Because they don't want to be vulnerable. Now, if you want to build trust, you have to show that you are a normal human being and that you are vulnerable. Okay?
Yeah.
We all are, and we all are going to die anyway, and we all get sick, and we all, have these things. So we are vulnerable. We all are. Okay, so let's share the things, okay? And let's communicate from heart to heart.
Oh, so good.
It's really the problem for many executives. They don't want to be vulnerable.
I love this, the picture of getting up in the morning and putting on the armor. And I mean, as sales professionals, that's a really big temptation because we take a lot of hits throughout the day. So to remain vulnerable and to resist the temptation to armor up in the morning, that's really, really solid. JC.
You say you get a lot of hits. We think always of the hits the salespeople get from the clients, but they get it from their bosses as well.
Yeah, they do.
So they get hit twice.
Yes. Oh, so good. Well, this book, Value Capture Selling, How to Win the Third Sales Transformation. So excited to talk about this. And as we get started on this, I think the title itself begs the question, what were the first two sales transformations and what is the third? Where are we now? Orient us, if you would, JC, as we get this conversation going.
I've visited a lot of companies and they all go through transformations, regularly. Every time there's a new CEO, every time there's a new global sales manager, whatever, it's a transformation. But what I tried to identify, what were the big ones, okay, over a period of 50 years. So the first transformation is really what made modern sales, okay? Sales, before were pushing products, peddling products. I'm laughing already, just thinking about it. You remember Glenn's Ross, the movie?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Put that coffee down.
I mean, it's things like that made selling a bad reputation. Mm-hmm. A very bad reputation. Forcing things down the throat of people. Mm-hmm. Which, talking from the heart, forget it totally. Yeah. Okay, it's screwing people. That's what they were after. So that's the old sales model, which still exists, by the way. Okay, we have not got rid of it. But then something happened in the 80s and 90s, which is a shift in power from sellers. Remember, sellers had all the power, and buyers, had to accept what the seller wanted. And there was a shift of power from the seller to the buyers. The buyers became more and more powerful because of sharing of information and global competition, a lot of reasons. When the shift of power went to buyers, then sales had to improve. And that's where we started to talk about solution selling. I don't know if you remember solution selling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And value selling, and then consultative selling. Okay, that was the first transformation, which is respect for the customer and creating value as perceived by the customer. That was the first transformation, major transformation. That's been the biggest transformation. And many people who are not in sales totally underestimate. And I know a lot of CEOs that totally underestimate this transformation. Yeah. The second transformation for me, and that's where I've been joining the sales effort, that's when I was asked to get involved, is the alignment between sales and marketing within corporation. This interface is the source of many conflicts and is creating a lot of inefficiencies in many companies. Performance of many companies could be improved just by improving the interface between marketing and selling. So I was brought by many companies to improve the interface by telling salespeople what marketing is about, so that they could relate to marketeers and so on. Now, most companies should do also the reverse, which is to tell marketeers what good selling is about.
Yes.
There's so much potential. Okay, I mean, there's a lot of money involved in improving that interface. That for me was the second transformation. And the third transformation is the one which we talk about now, is value capture selling. But these two first transformations are absolutely essential. Of course, within that, there are many sub-transformations, obviously, right? This is the big picture. And of course, some companies have gone happily through the first two. They are in the third one. Some companies have not entered the first one. So there's still a lot to be done. I mean, you guys have a lot of work to do with sales forces all around the world.
Don't we all?
Hey, Darrell, you know what's really good about this, and I can't wait for JC to unpack this, is a lot of this value capture selling, Darrell, it ties right into the trust formula. So JC, two parts of our trust formula is authentic relationships, and we combine that with meaningful value. Here's what's interesting, and I'd be curious your thoughts, because you use the word perception, and we've always said, value's in the eye of the beholder, and it's perceived value and so forth. So coach our listeners and those that happen to be watching us on YouTube is, how does a seller today capture value? They understand the importance of value, but how would a good forward-thinking seller start capturing value?
Well, that's a tough question, Larry, because sales really is, for me, a two-stage process. The first stage is creating perceived value for the customer. It's to creating an interest and a desire to buy the product, right?
Okay.
The second stage is the negotiation part. So the first stage is creating value, which is creating a pie which is as large as possible. The second stage is sharing the pie between the buyer and the seller. Now, most salespeople have not been trained for that second stage. The big challenge today in most corporations, is twice. One is the pressure they get from their shareholder to create corporate value. And the shareholders put pressure not because they want the dividends, but because corporate value is essential to invest in innovation, to invest in growth, to invest in new jobs, and so on. So corporate value today is the most important measure, metric of the health of a corporation. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge is that salespeople are meeting more and more professional buyers. And these professional buyers are very good at capturing a bigger part of the value for them.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm trying to do with this book, and of course, I've written the book at the request of some of my clients. This is a result of a number of seminars which I have given. What we are trying now is to train salespeople to face more professional buyers. Now, in B2B, what we see more and more is a salesperson meets two different types of people. In stage one, the salesperson meets nice people, quote unquote, right? In engineering, yes. In manufacturing, people who are interested in talking about the product, in talking about the value. Once they're on the short list or they've been approved, they go to a second stage. And there they get into the procurement department. And then they meet a different species of human beings. And let me tell you, I have looked at a number of training courses these procurement people go through. Let me tell you, these are not tender chickens. Okay?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
They really are tough.
Yeah.
So that's what the book is about, is equipping salespeople to face sales professionals. Buying professionals. And for that, they need a number of competencies, which I've described in the book and which are essential.
I love it.
It's a very difficult thing.
It absolutely is. And I'm so glad you've brought this to the surface, because this is something we really don't talk about that much in sales, and we need to talk about a whole lot more. I mean, we complain about professional buyers. We complain about procurement. I mean, I've been a seller into Walmart, which, is probably the the quintessential first, company that really got professional at buying. Let me tell you, I was flat-footed. I was not prepared for that conversation. And so coach us through this. Salespeople, I love this concept of we make the pie really big. I think we are all really, this is where we spend a lot of our sales training, but now it's phase 2. Now we got to cut up the pie, which, by the way, I love this analogy. I'm a big fan.
Darrell
of pie.
loves pie, JC. He's a pie guy. He loves pie. You're talking his love language, JC.
So, I would have talked about cheesecake.
That's it. So now the sale has gone into phase 2. Now it's time to slice up the pie. Where do salespeople get it wrong in terms of their mindset in either recognizing we're in phase 2 or stepping into phase 2? Where do salespeople drop the ball?
Okay. It's not that they get it wrong, Darrell.
Mm-hmm.
It's that the whole company gets it wrong. We cannot blame only the salespeople. So let's backtrack maybe a little.
Okay.
You probably have observed that the number of salespeople is declining, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They decline by the millions around the world. Now, a reason for that is, of course, digitalization, right? A lot of sales is done digitally, right? Yep. E-commerce and all of that. This is what we used to call sales, but actually it was more like order taking, right?
Sure.
Correct.
So, salespeople have been rewarded for a long time for just, taking orders. As this easy part is going digital, what is left is the tough part that we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's why in the book I talk about descaling and upgrading. At the same time as we are descaling the sales forces, we need to upgrade the level of salespeople. And the survivors are going to be the ones that do this upgrading.
Mm.
And it's not that they get it wrong. It's just they are not being given the ammunitions.
Sure.
Okay? Now, it starts with the objectives, okay? Companies have for a long time gone after revenues. Bigger is better. And they have incentivized salespeople on revenues, okay? And it's a very simple equation. Now, the example I use in the book is GE. I did work for GE for a long time. I work as a consultant and as an educator. Jack Welch was a hero. Remember Jack Welch?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. He passed away now and so on. But, in the 80s and 90s, he was a hero. He built a fantastic GE, okay? Big acquisitions and all of that. Now, since he, retired in 2001, GE's shareholder value has decreased by 75%. Ooh. 75%. Okay?
Wow.
That is happening company after company.
Mm-hmm.
The revenue objective is a very easy one, except we destroy value very often.
Mm-hmm.
When you incentivize salespeople on revenues, because the objective of the company is revenues, they are going to sell on revenues and they are going to destroy value in the process. But they don't even know it. And it's not their fault. It's the fault of the company. The company has the wrong objective. The company does not give the right information to the salespeople. The salespeople destroy value. They don't even know they destroy it. So the book is aimed at the salespeople. The key for survival in a tough new world of selling. Now, of course, I do advise also companies on how to change their structure and their strategy, but that's the subject of a different book. Okay. So what salespeople can do is develop their competencies. So I have 9 competencies that I talk about in the book, but first is client alignment, but good salespeople have that. Marketing alignment, they do that. Let me first just the key competencies out of the 9. One is the ability to juggle with multiple objectives. Instead of going only after revenues, they've got to go after corporate value drivers. Now, depending on the company, there are different drivers, but the key ones usually are profitability,
mm-hmm.
market share in B2B is what share of that client do you have? Most clients, have a first supplier, second supplier, third supplier. So what is your market share of that client? And the third one is customer satisfaction. And these are three drivers that are essential for corporate value. Profitability is short-term. Market share gives you more power in the medium term, but long-term customer satisfaction is key. Mm-hmm. And that's where, Larry, it's linked to your book because, selling from the heart is about building customer satisfaction. Okay? So one competency is the ability by salespeople today to juggle with these three objectives. And for that, they need to be given the information. And even if they're not given the information, they've got to get the sense for the profitability of a deal, for the market share they have in that client, and for the customer satisfaction. It's just looking in the eyes of the customer, right? And if the customer is happy or not with the deal. So that's one key competency. Another one is leadership. When salespeople just go after revenue, they don't have to think very much, frankly, in terms of leadership. They just got to deliver. Action, short term. If you look more medium, long term, you need to develop a leadership attitude. And many of the things you talk to in your book, Larry, is about this attitude, right? Mm-hmm. Of looking further, of being yourself and looking further. Not just doing the transaction, right? But looking further than the transaction, the relationship and all of that. So that is leadership attitude. In that leadership attitude, I distinguish two aspects. One is the soft part, which is empathy. And that's what you describe best in your book. The other one is what I call the hard skill, and that's business acumen. Mm-hmm. And many salespeople miss the business acumen. They don't have this. It's not very difficult. I've done training. In half a day, I can teach salespeople a lot about business acumen. Let me tell you, it does not take that long. And the third competency is negotiations, becoming much better at negotiations. The basic concept of negotiation, which are BATNA, ZOPA, things like that negotiators know. It does not take very long. My standard program, for value capture selling is from 1 to 3 days. It does not replace, the weeks of training that salespeople do, which is more on the selling side. It's just adding a module to the existing selling programs. In 1 to 3 days, you can achieve a lot.
Hey, what I love about what you just said, JC, and there's a lot of gold in that, and thank you for sharing your pearls of wisdom, is when we only focus on short term, when we have short-term vision, I believe it stunts our long-term sustainability. And the three things that you had just shared, that's long-term sustainability. But when we focus on the here and now, I get it. We have to, right? That's the short term. But if all your salespeople are doing is focusing on short term, the company, right, has turned their salespeople into transactional based salespeople that are 100% replaceable because those conversations are short-sighted. You have to have some of those, but we have to marry this with midterm and long-term thinking. And you just described the mid to long-term thinking that we have to marry together in order to achieve long-term success.
And the deep root cause of that, Larry, is the lack of respect that top executives have for their sales force. Because they just tell the salespeople, sell. Like if it was just, they don't want to involve them in the whole strategic perspective. I've done it in many companies. Salespeople are very bright, okay, because they face a struggle every day. And they understand very fast, but you just need to explain to them the vision.
Sure.
They need to feel part of it. They got to feel like they are business people in charge of a territory, in charge of things. They are managing a business. They're not just selling, they're managing a business.
Yep. Yes, sir.
And when you have this alignment between the top management and the salespeople through mutual respect, because when top management does not respect salespeople don't respect top management either. Okay? It's back heart to heart, right?
Yep.
So that is essential. And I meet executives after executives, from well-known companies that tell me, Jean-Claude, you're perfectly right. We have underestimated the importance of the sales force and the fact that they needed to be more involved and engaged in the total strategic process of the company, not just being relegated to sell.
Yes. Oh, Wow. This is, you are speaking our language, JC. This is amazing. And I know there's so much more to unpack in this book. I can't wait for our listeners to get their hands on Value Capture Selling. JC, as we wrap this up, and I mean, I know you're gonna have to come back. We got to continue this conversation in the future. But let me ask you, how can folks get more JC in their lives?
Well, LinkedIn. Get me. I mean, of course, I have. I give speeches. I get involved in the companies. I go to conferences. I go all around the world. I've visited 55 countries. And I have a company called Strategic Simulations. Our expertise, way back, I created some of the earliest simulations for marketing strategy. The best one is called MarkStrat for marketing strategy. It's used in 75% of the American business schools, for instance, in marketing courses. And we've developed a lot of simulations. The latest one that goes with the book, but they're independent, but they support each other, is called RevManX. And a simulation that can be used by any instructor in a company, sales instructors. In half a day, it puts salespeople in negotiations with buyers, with professional buyers. So there are 6 professional buyers with different, no buyer is identical, right? So different buyers with different biases, and they are put in this situation, and they need to capture as much value. Brilliant. Now, the simulation is independent from the book. The book is independent from the simulation. But when used together, it's, back to your book, The Empty Suit. I love the simulations because when people are put in simulations, they have this suit, they have this armor, they look important. So once they're in the action, they lose their armor, they lose their suit, they become natural. And it's so beautiful to watch people becoming natural when they're in the action. And I think that's what we need to do in good training is put people in the action mode. Because when they're in the action mode, they cannot cheat. It's like the sportsman, the runner, whatever. When they're in the action, they cannot cheat. When they come and talk to the interviewer from the television channel, then they can cheat as much as they want. But not when they're in the action.
Oh, it's so good.
So good. JC, thank you so much for sharing time with us. You're a true champion at selling from the heart. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Darrell.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you.
What an incredible conversation.
I tell you what, the empty suits made it. It's global. I love it. JC, you're a rock star. I love it.
The empty suit is in Paris. It's a much nicer empty suit now, though, and that's what it's really good. So much great stuff in that conversation. That last part about empathy and business acumen, what we talk about here at Selling from the Heart, and you talk about in selling in a post-trust world, in the trust formula, we have to have authentic relationships. Empathy drives those. We also have to be able to communicate meaningful value. And this business acumen and the things that JC was talking about here today are really, really critical. Because as we say, if you only have authentic relationships and no value, you're going to have a lot of friends, but you're going to need someone to buy you lunch. If you only have value, but you don't have that empathy of authentic relationships, you're going to have a lot of proposals out there, but you're going to really struggle to close business. And you get both of those right at the same time, and things are really good. I challenge everybody, go grab a copy of Value Capture Selling, JC's book. This is an incredibly important topic right now.
Absolutely. And it just really reinforces the struggles that many have in sales is if you want to move upstream, and I know sellers want to move upstream. And when I say upstream, they want to get inside that executive suite. They want to be invited to the business table. Well, guess what? In order to be invited to the business table, you have to bring business acumen and business conversation to the forefront. And you have to speak their language. It's marrying both of these together. I'm so glad JC brought it up, Darrell.
Well, I love it. We've got so much great stuff happening right now. Of course, Selling in a Post-Trust World is available in a limited edition advanced reader copy. And all you've got to do is go to sellinginaposttrustworld.com, and none other than Larry Levine himself will sign a copy of the book and you'll be an advanced reader. And we just can't wait. It's going to be so fun. They're starting to drip out. You're starting to see the people holding the book up on social. So grab your copy, Selling in a Post-Trust World. And we've got lots of great guests coming on throughout the spring and summer. So make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you to everybody who's leaving us reviews. This helps us spread the word of Selling from the Heart. And until next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, capture more value, and most of all,
sell from the heart.